Hey everyone, welcome to UP Live. My name's Joe Warner. We're just waiting for Nick Mitchell to join us, and bang on cue, here he is. Good morning, Nick. How you doing?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
I'm very, very good, thank you. So, first of all, welcome everyone to UP Live. The reason we're doing this is November the 19th, it's International Men's Day. So Nick and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to talk about men's health, and I'm going to put some of your questions to Nick. So we've been asking for the questions for the last week or so. We've had some absolute cracking questions come in, and what we're going to try and do in the next 45 minutes is get Nick with all of his expertise and experience to answer as many of them as possible, for the very simple reason of to help you ultimately live a fitter, happier and healthier life. So before we kick in, Nick, a quick introduction, because people might not know who I am. My name's Joe Warner. I'm the former editor of Men's Fitness magazine. And I've known Nick for about a decade now. We first worked together, various projects for Men's Fitness, and we actually did a book together called 12-Week Body Plan. And we've worked together in various capacities ever since. All of you will know Nick, the founder and CEO of Ultimate Performance. And I wanted to jump in, Nick. I think there's a common theme in the questions that we've been sent. And it's around men wanting to lose weight and wanting to get a little bit fitter, but never achieving the results that they wanted. And there's this disconnect between their ambitions and their hopes and the reality of getting the results. So why do you think it is that so many men want to lose weight, yet so few ever really accomplish the results they set out for?
You've started off with a very simple question, haven't you?
Always.
Where to start? It's a universal question that plagues everyone. This is not just a male-female thing. To keep it in tune with men tend to be more delusional about what they can do. Testosterone makes us feel invincible. And as we age and our testosterone goes, we become more aware of our own mortality, and we become more modest in our goals. If you're a 21-year-old looking to lose 20 pounds, you somehow fool yourself and think you can lose it in 2 weeks. So that's the specific male condition. Of course, I'm generalizing grotesquely, but ultimately, you have to match your ambitions to your work ethic and to your commitment, which is, by the way, is a universal maxim, right, for anything in life.
But
anything in life. You want to succeed in anything. You want to write a book. You want to get to edit a big magazine. You want to build a body, you want to build a business, you want to have a successful relationship with your partner, with your children. You've got to put the hard yards in.
So I think that's what I thought you were going to say, if I'm totally honest. It's the disconnect between wanting 100% of the result, but maybe only putting 20% of the effort in, because you only have to look around commercial gyms, and there's a lot of guys who may be training fairly regularly, but their bodies never change shape. So is it a lack of knowledge in what they should be doing? Is it a lack of application, of execution? Where do you think that if there is a common shortfall, is it simply a lack of effort put to make those changes?
Somebody's written lazy and a lack of discipline. That's with some people. It's with some people. We're all lazy. If you say lazy and a lack of discipline, people will go, hey, it's more complicated than that. Of course it's more complicated than that. But at the end of the day, we're all inherently lazy. When you see the stairs or you see the escalator, what do you take? Right? Not a lot of us go, I'm going to get some extra steps in. I've just got off a long flight, I've just got off a long train journey, I'm going to take the steps. I'm going to go the escalator. People take the line of least resistance. So we take the line of least resistance. It's not, but and you've got to own it. And if you call yourself lazy, sure, we're all lazy from time to time. There's no problem with that. Someone's got the same, no, someone else written, a lot aren't educated. We need to see these comments. Can you see that? A lot aren't educated. No, they're not educated. People are not educated, and people are fooled. They're fooled by the magazines. They're fooled by the fitness industry. They're fooled by the books that are going to come out in the next month or two, selling you the secret diet. What's it called? Michael Mosley? Michael Mosley? Is it Mosley?
The 5'2", yeah.
The Daily Mail doctor? He's got a new book out every 6 months, selling you the dream diet. There's 1,001 different dream diets. There's 1,001 ways to exercise to get into shape. If someone is looking to get into shape within a given time frame, there are probably 3 things that you've got to factor into it. educated effort. How hard can you work? How persistent can you be? How committed can you be? But you want educated effort. You just don't want indiscriminate effort.
Okay.
Time, function of time. Success in anything is a function of time unless you're looking to be lucky. No one wants to just ride their luck. And then the third thing that people really don't want to hear about is genetics. It's genetics. If you take the apex of physical transformation, being bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is a beauty contest, and how you're put together is down to your parents. It's down to muscle insertions, muscle bellies, joints, bone structure, those kind of things. You can't change that.
Obviously that's your area of expertise, but I guess if we're going back towards the average Joe, right? The average man on the street who maybe is a bit tired, he's overweight, he notices his belly is growing. What are the key things that most people are doing wrong is my point. Because I think so many men, for whatever reason where they get the information, it's quite tempting to fixate on, you need to be doing this. And if you're not doing this, nothing's going to work.
Because everyone fixates because everyone wants the quick fix.
Right.
They want the fad. They buy the book. They buy the workout app. They're doing the new program. They do the new group exercise. It's just consistency.
Right. So
it's consistency.
Is that the key
and
thing?
People overeat. I mean, the general population failed because the general population overeat. No one wants to be hungry. Every single person, okay, I'm generalizing, there'll be the odd person that shouldn't do this, but the vast majority of us need to remember what it feels like to go hungry. Nothing wrong with being hungry. Natural human condition, good for us. There's all these things, if you go hungry for long enough, fasting, you've got this thing called autophagy that cleans up the bad cells in your body. It's good for you. It's good to feel a little bit of hunger. It's good to go to bed a little bit hungry, but we don't want that. I don't want that. I don't like that. I like going to bed with a full stomach. But these are bad things and these are not how we're designed. So it's a mindset of saying to yourself, I'm going to go in and what goes into my body has to be processed by my body. And if you think about that, if you have an expensive car, most people I know with expensive cars, they've got two or three choices of petrol, right, of gas. And if it's a really expensive car, they go for the premium. I go for the premium with my cars. I have no idea why, by the way. I just know it's premium. I may be just getting sold. When it comes to our bodies, where we can, in general, a little bit of what we like, a little bit of bad stuff isn't the end of the world, but in general, you put the best stuff in and then you get the best stuff out. And the mindset that we need to have is, I'm putting this in and my body has to handle whatever I'm putting in. So if I'm drinking water, this is going to aid my bodily processes. But if I drink a Coke, it's not. It's going to put a little bit of stress on. And again, a little bit of stress, no problem. But over time, the problems accumulate.
I want to
make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to pick up on something you just said about hunger, because a couple of similar themes with people asking about intermittent fasting. And is this the approach I should use if I want to lose weight quickly? What's your thoughts on
intermittent fasting is a great example. All of us, lots of the general population will fixate on intermittent fasting. And some clown will come out with a book saying they've got the secret to losing weight, the secret to getting lean, and they'll say it's intermittent fasting. Next year they'll say it's ketogenic dieting, low carbs, whatever it may be, zero carbs. Fad to fad to fad to fad to fad. All of them work as long as you control your calorie runs. Simple as that. Simple as that. You get people asking about the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet basically meaning eating red meat, nothing else. Because you've got the likes of Jordan Peterson, and it's worked for Jordan Peterson and especially his daughter. His daughter was plagued with health problems, and clearly, whatever she had going on with her gut, she couldn't tolerate any kind of carbohydrate and any kind of fermented food. So good for her. Chronic, life-limiting health conditions been fixed. Is it needed for the vast majority of people who are overweight? No, it's not. Eat from the land. You've heard me say this before, Joe, right? Eat from the land, control your portions. Don't do the thing that I was taught, which is finish everything that's on your plate.
Okay.
Depending on the size of your plate. If you're full, you're full. Push the plate away.
I mean, this is where mindful eating can come into its own, right? And something that if anyone ever asks me what they should do is, don't eat in front of the TV, don't eat in front of your phone, don't eat in front of your laptop. Take your time to appreciate what's on your plate, smell it, taste it, the flavor, everything, because you will naturally slow down and you will probably feel full without feeling the need to clear your plate. And it's exactly the same as a kid. You know, you're not having your dessert until you clean your plate. And it's not a normal way of eating, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Another question that's come in from James is around low carbs. And he wants to know what actually is low carb. How many grams a day would you be talking to be on a low carb diet? And secondly, would you recommend low carb as the number one way to go for someone who wants to make body composition, by which I mean muscle mass increase and body fat decrease changes?
Low carb is relative to your muscle mass, your metabolism, and your exercise activity and the kind of exercise that you do. If you are doing a large volume, a high volume of exercise, which might be high reps in the gym, lots and lots of kind of more cardiovascular driven work, you're probably going to need higher carbs. Probably. If you're doing lots of low rep strength work, low reps, sub 5 reps kind of thing, you just don't necessarily need that many carbs. People's muscle mass, the more muscle you have, the more carbs you probably need. Here is the thing with low carbs and low carb dieting in a nutshell. It's a very good way for most people to start a diet. The reason why it's a very good way for most people, for most overweight people, not all, but most, is because the very fact that you are overweight means your body does not respond so well to carbs. Just doesn't respond so well. It's what's called insulin sensitivity or insulin insensitivity in this case.
Okay.
This basically means you eat the carbs and instead of your body producing enough insulin to drive the carbs where they should go, kind of into your muscles, into some of your organs as well, instead what happens is it kind of just goes the insulin receptors are deaf. You've got to produce too much insulin. You've got to force it all in. And what happens basically, the more overweight you are, the more likely the carbs you eat will end up being stored as fat. So a very lean person, someone like you, overeats by 500 grams of carbs a day. It's not going to touch the sides with you for a little while. An overweight person, a sedentary person, someone that gets older, all of these things, someone with very low muscle mass, all of these things are like competing factors. You're going to have a problem. So I like low carb dieting for the vast majority of people for anything from 5 days to 50 days or 100 days. That's a real outlier. Typically 5 to 15 days, let's say. Just gets you started on the diet. It's a no-brainer. When you cut out carbs, you're cutting out a huge amount of the potential junk. But so it just sets some habits. And what you do when you go low carb, you get a quick win. You lose some weight quite quickly. You don't necessarily lose fat. You might lose water, might lose a bit of inflammation.
But I think
the scale goes down. You feel a bit slimmer. You feel a bit lighter on your feet. And then this is positive reinforcement for the diet. And you can add carbs in then. And again, as I said, the leaner you get, the more you deserve your carbs.
I think the key thing there is...
the more muscle you have, the more you deserve your carbs.
I'm sorry, Nick, that I'm going to have to keep talking over you, but I think it's the only way I'm going to get a word in edgeways here. I think the key thing with the carbs as well is people think either carbs are good or carbs are bad, where the average person, as you said, eat from the land. If you cut out all of the processed carbs, it's not the end of the world if you're having some carbs through more natural sources, right? Vegetables are carbs, for instance. It's about doing something that's going to be sustainable. And in my experience, where I see people come undone, is they'll go, right, no carbs, that's it, no more carbs at all. And within 2 days, they're pulling their hair out because they can't sleep and they're moody and they're falling out with their partner.
Right, and those are the people that shouldn't go on low carbs, or they've just gone too hard, too fast. And again, lower carbs could be 100 grams, could be 50 grams, could be 150 grams. Cutting carbs back is useful for most people. Having days of low carbs or no carbs for all of us as adults is probably a good idea again, just to resensitize the body.
So the first step for somebody watching this who maybe doesn't have a ton of knowledge about training, about nutrition, they're a bit unhappy with how they're looking and how they're feeling, what would your advice be first and foremost to cut out the processed carbs, to cut out the sugar, for instance, or to massively look to reduce
My first advice for most people, if they're not guided by a professional, is fix your breakfast.
Okay.
Start with the first meal of the day the thing that sets you up, because it sets you up. What you put in your mouth first thing in the morning, no innuendos there, sets up the neurotransmitters for the rest of the day. So start the day off in a way that doesn't end up causing a blood sugar crash.
Give us an
So
example.
a bowl of cornflakes is not the right way for most of us. A bagel is not the right way for most of us. Fruit, granola, low-fat yogurt is not the ideal way. Most of us would benefit from fats and proteins. So, bacon and eggs is better than a bowl of cornflakes for sustained energy and for not going, okay, it's lunchtime, now I'm going to pig out. Or it's 11 o'clock, oh, I'm crashing, I'm going to have my latte and my muffin. So I'd fix breakfast first because you're going to feel it for the rest of the day in a way that nothing else will do. And it will set yourself up. And, I talk about fat and protein, and I think the best kind of breakfast is the old Charles Poliquin meat and nuts variation. Don't have to literally be meat and nuts. It could be fish, eggs, all that stuff. You can also have good quality carbohydrates. You can have a bowl of oatmeal with some berries, but I don't want you to have some eggs or a protein shake or something. I want you to have some protein as well at the start of the day.
So if someone's watching this, they're busy, they've got kids, breakfast time is an absolute horror show on even the best days. What would be a go-to breakfast that hits those macros you've mentioned for someone who hasn't got much time?
There's so many. Don't allow yourself to have an excuse. Well, you can make a protein shake, and in a protein shake, in a blender, if you've got a blender, you can put anything in a blender. You can put nuts and nut butters, fruit, protein powders, eggs, yogurt, whatever you want to do. Oats, if I've not said that already. Or, how long does it take to scramble some eggs?
Yeah.
60 seconds? Or, you can, if you can't face that kind of food in the morning, get some yogurt, or a variation of yogurt, put some berries, put some fruit into it, put a bit of protein powder in if you want, if you need it, might not need it, bung some oats in it, eat it. It takes 30 seconds.
I feel
Eat it on the go, eat it in the car, eat it while you're walking to the bus stop. There isn't a valid excuse. There's not a valid excuse.
There's a lot of people watching this will have followed you for years, will be training in the gym. This isn't a question for them. I want to address this question for the person who's never really done any exercise before and who doesn't really know anything about nutrition. They said, what's more important? Is it the nutrition or is it the training? And my response, and I'll let you answer this fully, is the first thing anyone should do if you're doing nothing is move more, is to do physical activity, even if it's just a walk, because the amount of benefits you're going to get from that, from getting outside. I'm not just talking about the cardiovascular benefits or the calorie burning benefits. I'm talking about the mental health benefits of just moving your body. What would you say on that? Would you agree with me? You looked like you didn't, so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
I'd say diet.
Right, okay.
I'd say diet. I'd say diet. But also, it's like saying, what's more important, to drink water or sleep?
So you think they have to...
If you don't drink, if you don't hydrate, you die. If you don't sleep, you die. You die. So, it's neither one nor the other.
I mean...
But you don't need to go to the gym. Like, I'm in the gym business. I've got 25 plus gyms all over the world, right? So I can say this with a straight face. The programs that we do at UP are set up to maximize efficiency. That's what they're set up for. They're set up to get people stronger, leaner, fitter in the most efficient manner possible. If you've done nothing, you sat on your ass all day, you work on your computer all day, you get in your car, your most vigorous activity is walking to the toilet. You don't need to do a lot to step it up. And you can just walk around. You can, when I do my telephone calls or my Zoom calls, my Skype calls, whatever they are these days, I'm walking around the house, I'm walking around the garden, I'm walking around the streets. I'm moving, I'm keeping myself moving. Fixing a little bit of the diet. It's baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. You don't have to go to the gym. You want to move your body. And ultimately what you want to work towards is finding something that you enjoy.
Yeah, and I think that's why I mentioned the physical activity being, in my mind, more important, because it feels psychologically like you're gaining something. You're gaining a 5-minute walk. You're gaining some energy from being outside. Whereas for a lot of people, going on a diet feels restrictive. It feels like you're giving up something, whereas it's much more of a positive outlook to move your body.
It's a mindset. You should always go, I get to do this today, not I have to do this today. So you need to get your exercise into a point where you feel good doing it. And even if it's something that you don't enjoy while doing it, after you've done it, You feel good having done it. Mental satisfaction, physical satisfaction, endorphin high, whatever it may be. You've got to get that mindset, I get to do this. And it's also got to be, I get to eat healthily. So you have to recognize the value to you personally of eating healthily. Look, we all do the wrong things. We all sit in bed and look at our laptops. Bad idea. Get up in the night, check our phones. We eat the crap food that's in the house. We all slip up always. And each and every time you've just got to remind yourself, I get to do this because it's going to have a positive outcome for me. A good analogy is you're training hard in the gym, you're running hard, whatever it may be. It's getting painful. That's with the time that you should embrace it, because that's when I'm getting the results. That's when I'm going to be moving forward. And it should be the same with dieting. Eating healthily.
Yeah.
It should be the same with eating healthily.
I wanted to move on to motivation, because I saw an interesting thing on Twitter a couple of days ago where someone was talking about if they only worked out on days when they really felt up for it, they wouldn't work out that many times a year at all. And it got me thinking on the way here about how many sessions a week or a month I'm really, really amped for. And I reckon it's maybe, if I'm being generous, maybe once a week. I train 4 times, 5 times a week. Once a week I'm really, really up for it. The rest of the time I just have to, get going and just grind it out. What's it like for you? Are you motivated for every single session and raring to go?
No, of course not. No.
So what percentage?
I have, an ongoing chronic health issue. So there's not a single day where I feel really good and healthy. Not a single day. There's not a single time at the moment where it's because of histamine and mold illness and things like that. It's very complicated. There's not a single time when I'm in the gym when I don't feel nauseous. But I do it. I do it because you know what? I feel better after having done it. It's not about knowing it's the right thing. We know certain things are the right things to do. I feel better having done it physically and mentally. So I just do it. Now for me, it's a habit. It's a habit, like cleaning my teeth. Every one of us should strive to make some form of exercise an unthinking habit. That's the key. How do you make it an unthinking habit? And it could be aqua aerobics or Olympic weightlifting. Doesn't matter what it is. Find a way. Find your thing. Find your thing.
And is it as simple as that? Is there something for everyone? And if you're not enjoying exercise or you've never really got bitten by the bug, do you think in your experience it's simply that you just haven't found the thing that just floats your boat?
Yes, 100%. The human bodies are designed to move. We get an endorphin high from exercise. Every single one of us, barring the outlier with illnesses and disabilities, every single one of us will feel better when we move our bodies. Who doesn't feel better? Stuck in the house. Right, I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna get a walk in fresh air. And we'll feel better afterwards. So every single one of us will be better doing that.
You've touched on the mental health benefits there, and obviously with International Men's Day, mental health is such an important topic and finally being talked about more specifically from men. You obviously run a globe-spanning, huge business. How often are you feeling stress and anxiety and pressure? And obviously there's a lot going on in the world right now. There's not that much to be cheerful for. So how do you deal with that stress when it does crop up? Because I think a lot of people probably are struggling right now.
Yeah, I get a lot of stress. I can never switch off. So, yeah. And, I'm in a fortunate financial position and all that kind of stuff, but the last few years have been hellish, and I think going to continue to be so. So my goals, my hopes, my aspirations have not been hit because of what's happened with COVID. How do I deal with it? I was discussing this with somebody a couple of days ago. I'm very fortunate to have known a lot of elderly people from the time I was a little boy. When I was a little boy, my grandma looked after a sheltered accommodation that was full of people who must have been born late in the 19th century.
Okay.
And I knew them, and I spent time with them, and I spent time with my grandparents, and I'm of that generation where, both my grandfathers went off in the Second World War. One grandfather was a 19-year-old taken out of a little village. His father had spent the intervening years between First World War and the Second World War in hospital because of what he'd gone through in the First World War, and he only got out of the hospital to be an air raid warden. So I have that for context. So whenever I feel sorry for myself and go, oh, how hard could it be? Well, it could be a lot harder and a lot more difficult. You know, this one part of my family that wouldn't have had much money. Post-war, wouldn't have had much money, lived hand to mouth, extremely working class. How can I complain about my position? The bottom line here is this. Nothing should give us sleepless nights unless it's terminal or criminal. Nothing. If it's terminal or criminal, pardon my language, but fuck it, right? You're going to get stressed about it. But otherwise, you can't let it disturb your night's sleep. And the way I handle this is, what I do is I play out the worst case scenario in my head. I play out the worst case scenario in my head. I decide what I'm going to do in that worst case scenario, and then I'm sorted. I figure it out. Okay, I'm not going to jail. I'm not going to die. Okay, I'm going to survive.
I guess it's similar to that kind of 3-month rule, right? Am I going to be worried about this in 3 months? And if you're not, then it's something you can let go of now.
Yeah.
I'm still conscious there's going to be a lot of people watching this who maybe are feeling quite overwhelmed. I think obviously doing some kind of physical activity, as you mentioned, for the endorphins is a way of gaining perspective. I always feel better not only physically but mentally from doing some kind of exercise. Is there any other kind of relatively instantly applicable advice you would give for people who are struggling right now, apart from...
Well, you cannot divorce mental health from physical health. And you need to remember that. There's an inordinate number of studies out there showing that you improve physical health, you improve mental health. I think that there are lots of studies showing that basically exercise is better than most or all antidepressants. So if you are feeling down, there are always things that you can work on, and you work on your physical health. I mean, look, if I sit like this, and if I lean back in this chair and I sit like this, the way I feel, even right now, is different from when I do this. When I do this, things spark up. So if posture, we all know that posture, just laughing, forcing a fake laugh, ha 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 ha, right, makes you feel a little bit better, right? So get moving, get active. And again, it doesn't have to be, oh, Nick Mitchell says get moving. It's not for him, he's got all these gyms. I'm not saying you got to go to the gym and train like Prime Schwarzenegger. Just get moving in whatever way you can. Stretch. If all you can do is stretch, if you've got a chronic illness and you've got no energy, stretch. Put some yoga DVD, put some yoga on YouTube and just do something and you will feel so much better.
No, it's so true, and I think people do still look for some kind of... It's too simplistic, right? It's too simple, it can't work. There's tons of studies, 20 minutes walk outside in nature, in a green space, lowers all kinds of feelings of anxiety, increases productivity.
Yeah.
There's research there, right?
If anyone watching this now or watching it back has got problems with pre-diabetic, blood sugar issues, all that kind of stuff, one simple thing that works for lowering rapidly blood glucose levels, which is what's needed, right, in people that are pre-diabetic or diabetic. After you eat, go for a 10-minute walk. That's it. Go for a 10-minute walk. Oh, it's cold outside. All right. Walk around the house. I've only got a little flat. Sure, fine. Pace around the flat if you have to. It can be done. It can be done. We all have these self-imposed limitations. And the worst thing in the world is just to limit yourself. If you believe in yourself and you're prepared to work hard, you don't know what your ceiling is until you've tried. And I don't think many people have ever hit the ceiling. I don't think that many people have ever tried for long enough and hard enough to hit their ceiling. Every one of us, every single person that ever comes through my door can drastically improve themselves. They cannot all become supermodels. They cannot all become Mr. Olympia. They can't all become, like you, Joe, fitness magazine cover models, right? Best-selling cover models. They can't all do that. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, everyone can improve beyond measure. So it's in your hands.
So, I know you're never one to sit on the fence. So I know I'm going to get an honest answer with this. Is it more a lack of confidence that an individual has, or is it a lack of desire? Where do you think that needle is?
we're talking about men first. With women, it would be more likely to be lack of confidence. Women are more likely to have imposter syndrome. No, but ultimately it's a lack of desire. It's a lack of desire. At the end of the day, if people go, oh, I don't have the discipline. Piss off. No, I don't have the discipline. It's not about discipline. Here's the donut, here's the pizza, here's the pint of beer, here is the Netflix movie, here is the chicken and broccoli, here is the bowl of porridge, here is the going for a walk. You want this more than you want that. Stop fooling yourself. Simple. You want this more than you want that.
And that's it. And once people can have that honest conversation with themselves, I guess that's where the excuses fall down. And then you decide whether or not you want to take action. Yeah. I'm conscious of time, Nick, and I want to rattle through as many questions as we can. We've had a lot on testosterone, and specifically around men worried that their testosterone levels may be dropping or suboptimal. Firstly,
well, they will be, because we live in an age where our 40 years ago, there was 30 to 40% more testosterone in the equivalent age male.
See, this is why I love doing these Q&As with you, Nick, so I don't even get to finish the question before you start the answer. But, obviously there is a lot of environmental, with plastics, with toxins, with pollution. What can you do in the best case scenario to limit your exposure to some of these toxins that are linked to suboptimal testosterone levels?
It's tough. It's really, really tough. Like, they've found microplastics in babies now, haven't they? And so it's really tough. Look, we've got hermaphroditic fish.
So let me ask you another question. What can you do that you're in control of that can help mitigate some of these effects?
So I would never microwave plastic.
Okay.
I would.
Plastics just minimized generally, right?
Yeah, I would never microwave plastic. I would be wary of the water that I drink.
So would a home water filter help?
I'd endeavor to keep myself as lean as possible, because basically fat cells are where we store a lot of the crap.
Okay.
In a very unscientific way. So the fatter you are, the more toxic you're likely to be, because those fat cells are holding toxins. What a mess, right? There are supplements that can help, but it depends. We're talking about we're talking too specifics if we talk about supplements.
Let me jump in then, Nick. Is it fair to say?
Let me just give some tips. Sunlight.
Okay.
10, 20 minutes of sunlight. Fix your circadian rhythm, so get out into the sunlight early as possible in the day. Maximize your sleep. Stop looking at electric devices within a couple of hours of going to bed. Stop it, because these have blue light, and this blue light, it not only will it impact your sleep, but what it really does, it stops your body producing melatonin. And melatonin is, you can take it, you can't buy it over the counter in the UK, but melatonin is like the sleep supplement. And melatonin is what babies produce a ton of, but melatonin isn't just good for sleeping, it is good for a whole host of things, a whole host of health-driven things. A lot to do with inflammation as well. So maximize your sleep, and the best form of exercise for boosting testosterone, and it's not a magic pill. Some people will say, oh, it boosts testosterone by 30%. What a load of rubbish. It is weight training.
Okay.
So weight training is the best thing to do, partly because weight training is the number one thing for improving insulin sensitivity. And again, hormones are this cascading thing that are all intertwined. So if your blood sugar is messed up, your testosterone production will be messed up.
If someone watching this is worried that they might have low testosterone levels, what are the key indicators that they might be experiencing, and what should they do if they think that they are generally below where they need to be?
Concentration, energy, zest for life, sexual health, sexual performance, sexual desire. Those would be the things to look at. And if you think you have a problem, I will go to your doctor, get it checked out.
And at what age do T levels start declining anyway? Because they naturally do decline, right, from a certain age?
Probably from 21.
Wow.
From a young age. Yeah, from a young age. Now, being released from the trap of high testosterone is not necessarily the end of the world, because a lot of us have made extremely poor decisions based on higher testosterone levels. So it's not the end of the world, but from a health perspective, it is critical to have the appropriate testosterone level, which does not mean a super physiological level. You don't want to be 50 like me and have the testosterone levels of a 16-year-old. It's not appropriate. But nor do you want to be 50 and have the testosterone levels of a 90-year-old.
What are your thoughts on testosterone replacement therapy?
Exactly the same thoughts as any kind of hormone replacement therapy, be it traditional female HRT, be it thyroid medication, that like at least 25 million Americans are on thyroid medication. If it is appropriate and medically advised, what on earth is the problem with it?
And so it's going
to improve your quality of life, right? So
ultimately, if it's something that you can explore, it's worth exploring. But so long as your levels are below where they should be naturally for your age.
Yeah.
You mentioned vitamin D there. Obviously, I'm speaking to you from the UK, where we're not going to see the sun again now till March. What are your thoughts on the supplements that people could take? And I mentioned vitamin D because it's something that I've taken religiously since first working with you, alongside omega-3 and creatine when I train. Supplements is obviously such an important topic and something that people fixate upon. Another thing they fixate upon. What are the supplements you think are essential for men, kind of my age to your age? We're fairly similar.
I don't think there's much difference between males and females, first of all. I think most people are going to need D3. You want K1 with D3 to help for absorption, so you want to find a D3 supplement that also has K1 in it. Magnesium, almost all adults are deficient in magnesium, so you want a good magnesium. I do prefer magnesium bisglycinate. There's lots of magnesium salts that do kind of different things, L-threonate or orotate, those kind of things. Magnesium bisglycinate would be my preference. I think, let me think, what else? It's good to get omega-3s in. It's good to get a good quality omega-3. If you eat a lot of good quality fish, oily fish, or if you eat wild meat, you don't necessarily need to supplement with omega-3s. The other area that's really, really important is probiotics. Again, you don't necessarily need to supplement with probiotics if you are eating a ton of fermented food.
So give me examples of what someone should eat if they want to improve their gut microbiome.
Well, not everyone can tolerate these, first of all. So the problem is the people that need them the most can't tolerate them.
Right.
It will cause a problem. But fermented foods, sauerkraut, kefir, pickling things, anything like that, is very, very good for you. It's very good for you, assuming that your body can tolerate it. If you can't tolerate it, if you have it and it causes you a problem, the chances are you've got digestive distress in general, and then what you need to do is you should try and use it, but you've got to start really, really small.
And do you feel like for a lot of people, it seems like gut health is such a fast growing area of interest in the health and fitness community as well? Do you think this is one of the next big frontiers of health and fitness? Like so many people, so many things are linked to gut health, from Parkinson's disease to Alzheimer's.
Well, it's already, it's not the next, it is the frontier. It is the frontier. If you want a little bit of unusual advice or an unusual way to look at it, we're made up, our gut alone is made up of, I think it's billions and billions, but it might be trillions of bacteria. I think probably it's trillions of bacteria. If you end up with a gut dysbiosis, in other words, you don't have the right beneficial bacterial balance to the kind of the bad bacterial balance, you've got a problem. The best way that appears, the best way that it looks like to treat this is not with supplements, it's not with pills that you buy from the health food store. They can help. Sometimes they're hard to get absorbed. The best medical intervention here is something called FMT, fecal matter transplants. And that's a pretty gross thing. It can be delivered now, actually in a pill, which is pretty horrible because basically you'd be swallowing fecal matter, or they can basically use a pediatric catheter and shove it up your bum.
I mean, it didn't need saying, right? but thank you for clarifying.
Horrible. Now, they've done studies. One of the leading studies on this is a vet. I think it's a vet in the US. And she's done thousands and thousands of dogs. For example, this is how important it is. This is amazing to think. She's taken the fecal matter from a well-behaved dog, mixed it all up, and pushed it into a badly behaved dog, what do you think has happened?
I'm going to guess that the behaviour of the poorly behaved dog improved significantly.
Yeah. Amazing. So that is the frontier, but in the US, can't do it. You know why? Pharmaceutical companies can't make any money out of it.
Okay.
So it's limited. It's limited to, it works for C. difficile. C. difficile is a bacterial infection that can kill you, right? Can kill you with basically uncontrolled diarrhea. It's allowed in the US for C. difficile if you've had 3 courses of antibiotics and they've not worked. So in other words, you're at death's door, we're going to let you do it, but for anything else, you don't let you do it.
Right.
Right? Money.
Okay. We are bang out of time. So Nick, thank you so much for joining us. I hope everyone watching has learned something.
My
If
pleasure.
you've got any other questions at all, just DM us and we'll be able to take a look at them in due course and let us know what you thought. We'd love to do more of these if it's something that you guys want. So thanks for being here. Thanks again to Nick and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.